Opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. I call on Members' Order of the Day number 1.
Jury's Age of Excusal Amendment Bill, third reading.
Cobates.
I move that the Jury's Age of Excusal Amendment Bill be now read a third time. Mr. Speaker, this bill has now completed its passage through the House, and I'm pleased to rise at the third reading to reflect on what it seeks to achieve, how it has been improved through parliamentary scrutiny, and why it deserves the support of this House. This has always been a modest bill, but also an important one. It proposes a straightforward update to the Juries Act 1981 by raising the age at which a person may automatically be excused from jury duty from 65 to 72. It does not compel service, it does not remove discretion, it does not diminish compassion or common sense. What it does is it brings our jury system into closer alignment with the realities of modern New Zealand. At first reading, I spoke about the changing nature of age, work, and the contribution people make in our society. At second reading, I addressed the practical pressures within our justice system and the unintended consequences of the current law. At this final stage, I want to focus on what this bill says about civic responsibility, fairness, and confidence in our system of justice. Let me now begin by acknowledging the Honourable Paul Goldsmith, whose engagement in this issue was critical from its origin. It was during a visit to the Auckland High Court, back when I was hopping around the House on crutches, Madam Speaker, with the Minister of Justice, that the court staff raised with us, in very practical terms, a difficulty they were experiencing in assembling juries. They spoke about the volume of age-based excusals and the administrative burden that followed them. That conversation stayed with me, and it ultimately led to this bill being drafted and introduced. I thank him for his support and his willingness to listen to officials on the front line and his encouragement to bring a practical solution to this House. Madam Speaker, this bill rests on a simple proposition: that civic duty does not expire at 65. When the age-based excusal rule was first introduced, it reflected a different time. Life expectancy was lower. Workforce participation among older New Zealanders was markedly different. Expectations around retirement and public contribution were not what they are today. Put simply, the law has not kept up with those changes. Today, many New Zealanders in their late 60s and early 70s are working, volunteering, caring for family and whānau, running businesses and contributing actively to their communities. Many hold positions of responsibility that require judgment, patience, and experience. Yet under the current law, we tell that same group that they may automatically opt out of one of the most fundamental civic roles in our democracy, simply based on their age. We provide a legal cover that says it's okay not to participate. That inconsistency matters. Jury service is not simply an administrative function. It is one of the ways in which the public participates directly in the administration of justice. It is how community values, common sense, and lived experience are brought into the courtroom. A jury system that unnecessarily excludes a large and growing cohort of capable citizens is weaker for it. This bill does not, however, force anyone to serve where they cannot. Let me be absolutely clear about this, Madam Speaker. Grounds for excusal based on health, caring responsibilities, employment pressures, or personal circumstances remain unchanged. They apply at every age. Compassion and direction remain central to the jury system. I should say discretion rather than direction, Madam Speaker. What changes is the automatic opt-out, which currently applies, as I say, purely based on age, regardless of capability, capacity, or willingness. The automatic threshold is what this bill updates. The Select Committee process has been an important part of the bill's journey, and I want to acknowledge the work of the Justice Committee and thank my colleagues for their engagement. The committee considered submissions carefully, tested the assumptions in this bill, and ensured that it was drafted and implemented in a way that was fair, clear, and workable. Some submitters raised some thoughtful concerns. They asked whether efficiency alone was a sufficient justification, Madam Speaker, for change. They questioned whether public confidence in juries could be affected, and those concerns were listened to, and they deserved to be taken seriously. The committee's response, which I support, Madam Speaker, was to ensure that this bill remained balanced and proportionate. The amendments recommended by the committee practically are focused on the transitional provisions to ensure clarity for those who receive jury summons and avoid confusion during the implementation of the change. The committee ultimately recommended the bill unanimously, and I thank members across the parties in this House for the constructive way in which they approached that task. Madam Speaker, one of the most encouraging aspects of this bill's progress has been the support it has received from across the House. Let me acknowledge my colleagues on my own side who have supported the bill consistently. I also want to acknowledge members from other parties who engaged openly with the proposal, tested it through debate and committee scrutiny, and indicated their support as the process unfolded. In some cases, members and parties have been prepared to reconsider their initial position in light of the evidence and the submissions received. That is exactly how this House should work. We often say that Parliament is a place of debate, but it is also a place of learning. When members are willing to listen, reflect, and, where appropriate, change their view, the legislation we produce is stronger. This bill reflects that, Madam Speaker. It also speaks to fairness. At present, the effect of the law is that a relatively shrinking pool of younger New Zealanders carries a disproportionate share of jury service. They are essentially being asked to shoulder a responsibility that should be shared more evenly across society. By modestly widening the pool of New Zealanders who are expected to serve, we make the system fairer, not just more efficient. There is also the issue of reflecting our society. Juries should reflect the communities they serve. That includes age diversity, and senior New Zealanders bring with them perspective, patience, and life experience that can be invaluable in complex or sensitive cases. Their presence strengthens deliberation and enhances the legitimacy of verdicts. Madam Speaker, this bill does not diminish anyone's contribution. It affirms it. It does not say that people over 65 have not done their share. It says that where they are able, they are still valued participants in our democratic institutions. That is a positive message, not a punitive one. As this House considers the final passage of this bill, I also note that it aligns sensibly with other age thresholds in public life. We already recognise that people can and do serve in demanding public roles well beyond the age of 65. This bill simply ensures that jury service is treated with the same respect and realism. In closing, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the court staff who first raised this issue with me, the officials who provided advice and data, the submitters who engaged constructively, the Justice Committee for its careful scrutiny, the Honourable Paul Goldsmith for his support and early engagement, and colleagues across the House who have supported the bill and strengthened it through debate. Madam Speaker, this is a careful, measured reform. It modernises the law, it improves fairness, it supports the effective functioning of our courts, and it reinforces the principle that civic duty is shared, ongoing and valued. Madam Speaker, I commend the jury's Age of Excusal Amendment Bill to the House.